that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. It's show number 433 this week, which means we've done 432 up to now, and this will be number 433.
Those are high numbers right there, right?
They really are.
What are we gonna do about that?
I'm hoping that this means that 500 will be approaching soon.
Well, we're halfway there. We're halfway to 500
Okay,
right now. So if you divide, or you multiply 430 by 2,
carry the 1.
500.
So just another 400 shows and we'll be there?
That's right. Exactly. We'll be to 500.
Are we going to do some kind of thing for 500?
I don't know. We need to plot it out. As you recall, we did something for the big 100th show. And then 200 came around. It was in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah. And so we couldn't really get people together and do a big show. So we waited until we got to the not 300 but 333rd show, and then we did like 333. We did an anniversary. Yeah, so I don't know whether we should do 500 or we should
like had a little kind of thing, and that was about it, right?
Yeah. It was not a huge celebration, but we'll figure out something. So I have an idea. Maybe we'll do a show and we'll get like 3 beers and a spirit, and we'll drink them and talk about them, and that'll be our celebration.
Not a bad way to celebrate.
I think we should do that. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And on today's show, we're going to talk pairing food with tequila, which is always a fun thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
And usually, the genius of planning that it takes to put this program together. If we have a sort of a theme for the show, a big story we're covering, like pairing food with tequila, we'll try our beers and the spirit will be like a whiskey. Genius of planning. But today, I've actually brought a tequila for us to sample while we're talking tequila. So we'll be...
but no food.
Trying out... No, that's true.
It is a little hard to eat on the radio, so to speak.
It is. So it's like, so later...
it takes something out of the...
Can I tell you, that's my biggest pet peeve on TikTok is these people that are influencers and they get all this food on camera, and they sit in the car and they just sit there and they tell you how the food is, but it's while they're... That's good.
It's in the car.
All that causes
like the laziest.
All that causes is jealousy.
It's one person, and they have 4 burgers in front of them, and like 3 things of fries. Like somehow they went and spent like $73
right.
at Carl's Jr. and they have that so they can try each one of the burgers that's at Carl's Jr. We already know what they taste like.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need an influencer to help us with this. So we'll try to be influencers about tequila today. We'll be trying the Agave Extra Anejo Tequila from, of course, Mexico, where all true tequila is from. We'll be trying some interesting beers, too, or at least I think and hope that they will be interesting. From North Shepherd Brewing, right here in our hometown of Houston, Texas, we'll be trying their Czech-Style Pilsner called Rosefield Pils.
Now, I've been aware of North Shepherd for a while, but I don't think I've tried one of their beers.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've had one on the show, so
Where's
I'm excited
it located?
about that. I believe it's on North Shepherd Drive.
Okay,
it would be my best guess.
Possibly.
Yeah, I know they're in Houston.
Yeah,
from Florissant, Missouri, where we have that's home, by the way. Florissant is in the St. Louis metro, and hello to our new listeners on KFTK 97.1 in St. Louis.
Nice.
And Florissant is in the St. Louis metro area. We'll be trying from a Florissant brewery called Narrow Gauge Brewing. First time I think we've had them on the show.
I don't remember that name at all.
We'll be trying their double dry hopped Imperial IPA called King Fallen Flag.
Oh,
it's an interesting name.
Interesting name.
And then finally, from one we have had on the program before, and it's always been amazing, so my expectations are high, the Fremont Brewing 2021 Rusty Nail from Fremont in Seattle. So Rusty Nail is a beer they do every year, and it's very big, and the bottle's big, and we're gonna have some fun getting into that one.
It's basically an outrageous beer every year.
So we're looking forward to that. Plus, we have all kinds of things to talk about today. The Minneapolis Cigar Lounge. You remember the 15-minute smoking limit that the Minneapolis City Council put in for cigar bars?
Yes.
Here's your
$20 cigar. You got 15 minutes.
The first third of my cigar was really good. The second third and the third, I had no idea.
Well, what if you brought it back the next day?
Right. Yeah, it's just that sorry, cigars just don't keep that well after you've lit them.
No,
very few. So anyway, that Cigar Lounge is suing over the 15-minute smoking limit. So we'll give you some details on that. We also have a list of Cigar Journal's best buy cigars of 2024. And in fairness, this only came out like a month ago, so it's not like I'm running late getting to it necessarily. These guys just put this out. Plus, we'll tell you about some cigars to watch for. And we have our old standbys here on the program, both the Drunken Fact and Drinking News. Drinking News happens in the second hour, and the Drinking News teaser headline for today is Way Down Upon the Swanee River. Do you even know the tune to Way Down Upon the Swanee River?
I don't think I've ever said that.
Far away. Oh well, it's not worth going back to. And then the Drinking Fact has now morphed into the Drunken Fact, which are still great facts that you can use to become a hit at parties, things like that. And they all come from the internet, so they must be true. Today's Drunken Fact teaser headline is: what do you call the stuff between an elephant's toes? Slow-running natives. That's not racist, is it? Is that racist? If it is, I totally apologize.
Okay. It wasn't until you said it.
I'm so upset with myself now about that. I apologize. What is it? Larry the Cable Guy says when he tells a joke that he thinks is kind of offensive, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Lord, bless the pygmies in Africa." So that's, which I think that may be racist too. So all I'm saying is we should talk about something else. That's what I'm really saying. So, so
cigars are good.
Big news for this week. We have a Nicolas Cage report.
Oh no! Really?
Yes, now,
all right.
Those who are regular listeners to this program know that we occasionally go off topic a little bit from cigars and spirits and craft beer, and when we do, it is likely that it will be about Nicolas Cage.
There's a pretty good chance.
It's not always. We go off topic on other things, but we have a tendency to love talking about Nicolas Cage. And I have come up with something that I think is a truism that you can hold to, and I call it the Nicolas Cage ratio rule. And that ratio basically is Nicolas Cage, if he does 4 movies, 1 of them will be outstanding, and 3 of them will suck toilet water. And that, if you take a look at his career, that seems to be, I mean, the guy's actually an incredible actor,
but
and has been in some amazing movies.
You know what?
Then some duds.
Can I tell you?
Doesn't pick the best.
Let's just compare that to other industries. Say you were a Wall Street stockbroker,
and
I feel
3 out of 4 of your picks tank, and one does well.
I feel like as long as the one went really, really well, and the other ones didn't do, maybe you're still making money.
It would need to go really, really well. The only other, occupation I can think of where that rule is even maybe a little bit too much is weather forecaster.
Weatherman, yeah.
You don't ever have to be right.
No.
Ever. Ever.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, Nicolas Cage is going to be in a new movie, and he is playing John Madden. And apparently,
I'm about it.
Wait,
Apparently,
why?
he's playing coach. It's a movie
Frank Caliendo's still alive, right?
Right. But apparently, and all I've seen is a still photo, and it looks pretty convincing. And apparently, the early reports from the set of the movie is that he is killing it.
I'm for it.
So
come on. Is he playing an earlier version of Madden?
Yeah, he's playing Madden like when he was
As
a coach.
he was the coach?
I would imagine, I don't know this, but I would imagine the movie probably chronicles a long period in his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the photo that they showed that I saw in the article that I picked up about this, and if you have Apple News, it's on Apple News, but it came from GQ. So if you search GQ Nicolas Cage, John Madden, you should be able to find this. But in this photo, he actually looks convincingly like a younger, Oakland Raiders coach, John Madden.
Okay.
So
a pre-video game Madden.
Yeah. So let's tentatively think that this might be the one of the four.
Is there a release date? When is that?
I have not seen a release date for it yet.
But it's still it's in the works there.
Yeah. And the article says, if your first reaction was, yeah, right, who's playing Al Davis? Christian Bale? We got a surprise for you, they say. And the surprise is that Nicolas Cage apparently is killing it in this movie.
Wow.
So I will put this on my must-watch. I might even go to the theater to see this.
Oh.
And that, as we all know, is a big commitment.
Yeah.
So,
all
right. Have you even been to the theater since you can download?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think what was the last.
I went to this theater over in River Oaks area, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of the theater, but man, you get comfy chairs.
Oh yeah,
and they put a blanket on the chair for you.
I love that. I love that.
You know what's coming up this week is a documentary on Pee Wee Herman on HBO that's actually going to be on Pee Wee and on Paul Rubens.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
The thousands of hours of unseen footage
I can't wait to see that.
It looks like it's going to be very interesting.
So I've seen the trailers for the new Superman movie, and I might go see that in the theater. That looks like it would be a fun thing to see in the theater. But yeah, I don't think I've been at the theater since AMC bought the downtown theater I used to go to and essentially ruined it.
It
was
to me that I never see movie trailers and I never see commercials because I have an old not Netflix but an old YouTube account.
Yeah,
that doesn't get commercials.
Oh, you lucky dog!
And
lucky.
I should not say that out loud, right?
Yeah. This is not. It's not.
Rewind that.
It's not Ian Barry from Smoking and Toasting that said that. Just
exactly.
So we could be clear.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I don't watch TV. So
you're not a TV guy.
I haven't been to the movies all the way since a Minecraft movie came out.
Oh man.
Chicken Jockey.
Yeah, I heard some great jokes about that this weekend. So, all right, let's talk beverage of mystery here. Terry, can you play our sounder?
The beverage of mystery.
Now, I have a caveat about the beverage of mystery. This is where one of us will bring something in. It's usually an alcoholic beverage. Sometimes it might not be, but usually is.
I want to say.
It is sometimes good, sometimes not so good. But the only person that knows what it is the person what brung it.
This smells familiar.
Well, see, that was the thing. Is the caveat is I can't remember if I brought this beverage of mystery in before.
It smells like it smells very like 7-Up.
It certainly does. Sprite or 7-Up.
Sprite or 7-Up. It smells sweet like that, but it also smells like it might be a little artificial aftertaste kind of
Take a sip and tell me what you think.
But it actually smells good.
Yeah, you're right. The nose on it's very nice. Now, you're going to have to talk about this because usually I'm either happy to see you or I have a beverage of mystery can in my pocket. But in this case, I left it on the ledge.
You left a can of mystery. I'm having a little bit of a trouble here because I still have a little toothpaste taste in my mouth.
You know what? Me too. I had that too. But, it's
after the second sip, I'm not getting the artificial aftertaste on this at all. Actually, so it tastes pretty good.
There is no artificial aftertaste. I'm not tasting anything artificial like that at all.
It's a little sweet. It doesn't have a sickly aftertaste.
Yeah. So with apologies, if I have brought this before, what you are drinking here, I'll just unveil it since we're short on time, is Jameson Whiskey Lemonade, made with the finest Irish whiskey.
Okay, so I don't think I've seen this before.
Maybe I haven't brought. See, I couldn't remember. It was sitting in my beer fridge. I was like, did I bring this? Did I not?
Like this. I don't remember seeing this particular can before. I'll tell you, why is it that the whiskey lemonade tastes like limeade?
It does taste a little more limey than it does lemony. I agree with that.
I get a lot more lime than lemon.
It's not bad, and I think it would be better over ice.
It's not bad. I bet it would be good over ice.
That would be better.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back to talk cigars and more. We got an interesting show for you today, regardless of what the first segment may have sounded like. And we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and Nicolas Cage. Welcome back to the program. It's only occasionally about
he does come up, more often than not, though, if we go off track.
I don't know why we go there. It's just a maybe easy target. I don't know. Speaking of things that we like to do on the show, and one of them is the beverage of mystery. We kind of liked today's beverage of mystery, so I just wanted to make sure I took the opportunity to show this can to the camera in case anybody wants to try this. If you're looking for a cocktail in a can, Jameson Whiskey Lemonade is not a bad way to go. It says here at the bottom, made with Irish whiskey, which makes sense.
That's good. That's a good ingredient to have.
Natural lemon flavor and carbonation, and 7% alcohol. What do you think the difference is between natural lemon flavor and just lemon?
They skip the lemon, they go right to the flavor. Which, by the way, tastes a lot like lime.
Yeah, it kind of does. It has a little bit more of a limey vibe to it than a lemony vibe, but it reminds. Is lemon flavor is that what they put in those lemon candies? Those hard candies that your grandma used to give you that have the little crinkly wrapper around them.
That might. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's lemon flavor.
I think the difference is lemon zest, like where they get it from the outside of the lemon. That's where they get the lemon flavor ones from. But if they're not actually using the inside lemon where they get the vitamin C from, that's when it counts as a difference between lemon and lemon flavor.
They're like, listen, guys, we used all the lemon juice, but here's what we got.
Yeah, I think now instead of lemon scented pledge, they're going to go ahead and go with lemon flavored pledge. So they'll use the zest.
After the Tide Pod incidents, I'm sure that's going to work out real good.
Speaking of citrus zest, we talk about that sometimes as a note we get from Cigars. I was wondering if you had a chance to get, in depth on anything and smoke something interesting
Funny
this week.
Ask. Yeah. I dug into my humidor last night, went out on my patio with a Rocky Patel Decade. Now, these have been out for ages.
I just have to say, that's a great cigar.
I've had many of these. But I'm going to talk about this specific experience. This is a 6x52 Toro. The Rocky Patel Decade is a Honduran Imperial using a milk chocolate brown Sumatra wrapper. It's very smooth and oily with a few veins. Box pressed, very firm feel overall with two bands on it. One says Rocky Patel, the other one says Decade. The pre-light sniff on this woody and sweet coffee, earth, classic tobacco, leather. Pre-light draw, I used a V-cut, had a medium draw, leather and spicy with a meaty broth kind of note to it, tingle on the lips. The initial light, wood and spices, savory leather, rich earth, followed by a touch of meaty broth.
I remember these flavors from the Decade because I've smoked them before.
The Retro Hail is spicy and woody right off the bat. The first third of this leading with a leathery tingle on the lips and the tip of the tongue, massive plumes of rich smoke delivering a woody, spicy stew. Mixed peppercorns and a kiss of cayenne, sweet cedar, and fresh-cut oak. Leather and umami. Retro Hail is sweet cedar and white pepper, solid ash, good burn. I hadn't had one of these in a while. It was really actually fun. Proposed pairing, I would say like a blonde ale. You have to have something with a little bit of body to it, or a classic bourbon like Wild Turkey or Buffalo Trace is what I was suggesting. I actually went with Wild Turkey last night. The second third of this, meaty broth and spices kind of move forward. Sweet cedar and fresh cut oak follow with the leather right behind. Retro Hill, sweet cedar and leather, solid ash, good burn. The last third of this, I had to tend the burn just a little bit going into the last third. And that evened it out, although I'm not sure if it was the tending on the last bit of this or if something happened, but I got a bitter note here.
Oh, so it could have been from the tending, but
it was burning too hot.
That would be a relight penalty,
and
if so.
It just crushed the whole last bit of the cigar.
Interesting. Yeah, because you were doing good up until then.
It was bad. At that point in time, it actively turned bad, and every flavor was so good up till then.
Interesting.
So I ditched the cigar, and I gave this at $12. I gave it a 4 because it shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and $12 is
that's a respectable
cheap.
price.
Yeah, it's
right?
Respectable price.
I don't think I paid $12 for it. I think I actually paid about 4 because I think I got it in a package from Cigar Page or one of those, and at 4, you're getting a 5. I just hate that it went bad on me. However, I have more of these, and I'll update this next week.
Yeah, I would love to hear because my experience with that cigar has always been good.
It's the only one I've ever had that's done that.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
All right. Well, I'll do this as a tease because I'm not going to do it until next segment. But I also went back to an old favorite brand or an older brand or a brand I used to smoke a lot more of. I'll just give this tease for my cigar review this week. I'll tell you about smoking a Gurkha.
Oh, that's going back.
Gurkha and I have had some issues. We'll get to that. We'll tell you about this.
I have trust issues with Gurkha.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get to that. I do think we have time before this end of this segment to probably hit our little drunken fact here. Drunken fact is where we bring you a fact which we know must be true because it's on the internet, and these used to be about drinking. We kind of ran out of those, so there's still good ones to tell if you're a party and if you're at a party and you've been drinking. Ladies and gentlemen.
And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drinking fact.
And so you're going to have to do that again because it's now the drunken.
Oh, and I have
fact.
it written here. I scratched it out.
Yeah.
You broke it.
I just want to hear the fanfare again. So let's go from the top.
And you like the way I kept that on?
Yeah.
And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drunken fact.
Any excuse to hear that fanfare, I will go for it.
It's just ingrained in my head, I guess.
Yep. So our drunken fact for today, great for repeating at parties. And by now, most of you probably know that the country of Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, has offered U.S. President Donald Trump a $400 billion flying palace-in-the-sky luxury jet. It's been all over the news this week. Now, we won't get into the politics of it here. But this is not the most unusual gift ever offered to an American president. In 1862, the King of Siam offered Abraham Lincoln mini elephants on the grounds that a country as great as the United States should not be without elephants.
A man must have elephants?
Wow.
Lincoln politely declined.
Wow.
Although it would have been kind of cool if they'd set up like an elephant enclosure, like where the Statue of Liberty is, which was a gift from the French,
With
right?
just
So you get, here's our gift from the French.
Elephant
and
Island.
Here's our gifts from the King of Siam.
What?
Don't step in any of the droppings. So there's your drunken fact. Yeah. Lincoln declined.
My grandfather used to always talk about the elephant gun that he had in his house.
Yeah.
And the one thing he used to brag about was, you don't see any elephants, do you?
I think that makes every bit of sense in the world. All right, we got to take a break, and we will be right back. I'll tell you about my cigar from this week, and we'll get into our first beer of this particular show, which I think we're going to find interesting. It's from North Shepherd Brewing in Houston, Texas.
I've been drinking beer.
Rosefield Pills is what we'll be trying next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and no more Nicolas Cage on today's show. We've hit our quota. That's it for now. So
Nicolas Cage, not a sponsor.
Those of you who are old enough to remember Casey Kasem's American Top 40 Countdown, remember he used to do this thing. I used to love it. American Top 40 is heard on great radio stations. So we'll do the same thing. We'll do here Smoking and Toasting is heard on great radio stations around the world, like WICC-AM, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Voice is spot on. I love it.
Did I tell you about the time I did a dog dedication? A dog death dedication, to boot. Why don't you tell me about the time you poured some beer? I see this is a very foamy beer that you're pouring in, and since that wasn't available to the camera, I'll just show it right there. That is a lots of foam.
That's a lots of foam.
Yeah, so I'm
trying. It's one of those where like you go to pour it and it just dribbles down the side of the can.
Well, while we wait for that to simmer down, as it were, let me tell you about the.
I wonder if I'm going to have more problems like that as I get older.
And it will take a lot longer. I will just tell you that much. Let's tell you about the cigar that I smoked this week. If you are a regular listener to the show, and by the way, is if my insurance is listening, the cigar that I smoked this week, let me underline the one.
The one?
Yeah, the one cigar that I smoked this week. If you are a regular listener to the show, you may be aware that I have had a long and testy relationship with Gurkha cigars. Not with the people who make or sell them. I actually don't know anyone at Gurkha. I'm talking about the cigars themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. I started smoking them when I found some of them years ago, pretty inexpensively online. And I liked them. A lot of cigars in their line were nice,
used
big
to get them all the time
flavor bombs
on Cigars International.
Yeah, and the price was, for the price, they seemed really solid.
You used to get the multi-packs with the Beast.
Yes, the Beast. I love the Beast.
Such a good cigar.
So at some point, though, something changed. And it seemed like every time I got my hands on a Gurkha, solid was the last way that I described them.
Yes.
In fact, some of them got so bad that I started joking about them being trick cigars, like the ones, that you give somebody on purpose and they light them and they explode. The construction on at least some of the Gurkhas got that bad, at least in my experience. And I've reviewed them here on the show before, and we put up the pictures just to show. Like, this cigar disintegrated. So naturally, I stopped smoking them. Occasionally, somebody would gift me one, like the Gurkha Cellar Reserve. I don't know if you remember those. And those were pretty good.
But I think those are made in a different place than a lot of the Gurkhas.
But my overall impression of this whole line of cigars still revolved around the ones that essentially disassembled themselves like a transformer while I was trying to smoke them. So I figured it was probably about time to revisit the Gurkha. And to do so, I chose the Gurkha 125th anniversary cigar. Or maybe it was the 25th. I forget. Anyway, it's the 125th, because right off the bat, that's a little deceptive. Gurkha has not been in business for 125 years. They were founded in 1989 when Kaizad Hansotia bought a Portuguese cigar roller's entire stock while he was in India. But the name Gurkha had its first attachment to cigars in 1887 when colonial British troops fought along with the Nepalese Gurkha fighters, and they were kind of fascinated by them. So after the battles and stuff, when they started making victory cigars and rolling them and smoking them from the local tobacco, they wound up naming them after the Gurkha fighters, and that was a little over 125 years ago. Well, since I felt like I, too, had done battle with Gurkha, I decided to smoke the Toro size of the 125th anniversary, which is rolled in the Dominican Republic using a Brazilian Habano wrapper, an Ecuadorian binder, and filler tobacco from Nicaragua, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic.
That sounds promising.
I used cigar scissors and checked out the pre-light sniff and the cold draw. I got leather and some creaminess along with a hint of pepper. When I lit up, I got nice full puffs of smoke, cedar and leather, and a tiny hint of pepper on the finish. Definitely not a Nicaraguan pepper blast, but not a really mellow cigar either. Mm-hmm. Most notably, the burn and construction, as you will see in some of the pictures here if you're watching the video of the show, the burn and construction seemed spot on. The initial ash held on for a little over an inch before I flicked it into the ashtray with almost a razor straight burn. I was flabbergasted. The second and third brought in leather, some citrus zest, we mentioned that earlier, and an oaky note that made me think of bourbon barrels. By the final third, I was getting some spice notes, particularly a kind of a sweet cinnamon, but the savory notes of leather and pepper were still quite noticeable. I got some toast and nutty notes as well, which seemed to help fully establish the 125th anniversary as medium-bodied in strength. It never quite dipped into that pepper or big earthiness that seems to define a lot of medium to full. So it was a little on the lighter side than that. But the big thing, for me at least, was that the construction of the 125th anniversary was almost flawless. This from a company who made, and I'm not exaggerating here, more than one cigar that literally came apart at the seams while I smoked it. Sure, that was a few years ago, but the Gurkha 125th anniversary left me with the definite impression that the company may have moved past whatever those construction issues were. Honestly, 125th anniversary was a really enjoyable cigar. And I can't stress this enough, the construction was actually awesome. So I'm kind of like saying to Gurkha, all right, you can come back home, but for now you're sleeping on the couch. We'll see how this goes. The listed retail on this cigar is about $10, but you can find it online for $8 or even less. And at that price, a solid $5 for the Gurkha 125th anniversary Toro. And if you guys behave yourself, talking to Gurkha here, you just might find your way back into my humidor. We shall see. It was promising. I've never had trouble with the flavor of Gurkha cigars. They've always been pleasant. Yeah.
It's the only issue I ever had was construction.
This wasn't as big or kind of bold, earthy tasting as I remembered, like the Beast to be.
Well, so the Beast was one of their only cigars that was that big. Actually, Gurkha's kind of known for that mild to medium more than anything else.
But this was a flavorful mild to medium, which I really, a medium bodied, which I really liked.
But again, the flavors I think in general are never the problem with them. It's always been the construction issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it depends on where the cigar is made in the Gurkha lineup as well.
Right, because they do kind of get cigars from all over the place. I think so. They've got way too many cigars in their line.
Because those cellar reserves are. I've never had a bad cellar reserve.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Those are good, but they're smaller. They have less chance to unravel. So
true. But didn't you have? Was it you that had the Evil recently that came apart?
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, Gurkha cautiously back in the door, sleeping on the couch, but back in the door. We'll see what happens. This beer that we're trying now is the Rosefield Pils. I'm not sure what Rosefield means in connection to this beer. But it says sessionable Czech-style Pilsner, brightened by noble hop flavor and aroma.
Noble hops are so good.
Yeah.
It was probably 10, maybe even 15. I'm so old now. Years ago that Sam Adams put out a Noble Pils beer that was so good.
I remember this.
But noble hops are so nice. This Rosefield Pilsner malt, Czech says, and Magnum hops. It's so good. It tastes very German.
It's really quite delicious.
Yeah, I like it's a good beer. It tastes very German, and like the finish on it is kind of a no nonsense.
Well, Germany's not far from Czechoslovakia, so maybe there's some bleed over there because they call it a Czech-style Pilsner, and I'm not sure if I could tell you the taste difference between Czech-style and German.
I don't know if I could either.
Yeah, but you get some malt up front, but it's not like sometimes if you get like a German or Bavarian style Pilsner, you get a lot of malt up front. I don't get as much of that, but what I do get is the way these noble hops work. It's just very crisp and just very satisfying on the palate. I would say
the finish is really nice. The finish leaves you with a nice crispy hop snap. It lingers a little bit with some bitterness, but in a really nice way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not bitter in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to have this bitter taste in my mouth for the next 20 minutes. It's just bitter in the way that makes it interesting. What's the ABV on this?
Bitter like coffee's bitter. If you have good coffee, there's got to be some bitter to it. This is coming in at 4.5%.
So pretty crushable.
Yeah, totally crushable.
Kind of liking that. I'm thinking this would be a good choice for summer. And
I would drink this floating on the river.
Yeah,
the bubbles really
you
stick
drink
to the
barley
side.
wine.
I would and have drank.
So when Ian says I would drink this floating down the river, it means nothing.
Milk was a bad idea.
He would drink just about anything floating down the river. What were you saying, Terry?
The bubbles really stick to the side on this one. I really like that.
It's got a little of that.
Those bubbles have like some sort of substance to
terminology moment. That's called lacing.
Lacing.
By the way, while we're on the subject of beer, and I know our guest next week is Danielle Gray.
Danielle Gray,
Angel's Envy, will be on the program, and we'll be talking a lot about whiskey. But we're also going to talk about the calorie content of some of the most popular beers in America.
We should probably not talk about that.
It's interesting to see because it's interesting to see how like the macro brews stack up against some of the crafts, and the crafts in general are going to probably be a little higher, but you'll be surprised by some of these revelations.
I was in Walmart the other day and I saw a guy in there and he was looking at the content count of, the calories of not at all. No. When was the last time you ever saw someone sitting there going, should I get this one?
I don't know where Terry shops, but yeah. So my wife's doing this new nutrition program thing, and it forces her to have to like read the labels of all food.
Yeah.
So she's become a food label person. So I'm constantly hearing things like, oh my God, this has 25 grams of sodium, things like that. These are conversation starters at my house.
Between sodium and sugar, though, it's so easy to rack that stuff up.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's why you might want to know these things about, I remember back in the early days of St. Arnold, which is one of our, favorite local breweries here in our city. I remember going to their website because I was really, really enjoying a lot of their Alyssa IPA at the time. And I remember going to the website to see if I could find out how many calories were in it. And they had this nifty little saying like, we'd really rather you just enjoy the beer.
Don't worry about it. You don't need to know how many calories.
Exactly how it was said, but
if you're really worried about the calories, maybe drink one less.
Yeah. These are not the calories you're looking for. It's kind of what it felt like. But I like this.
I sense much calorie in this one.
I like this Rosefield Pils. Rosefield seems like it's one of the. I don't know what it means in connection to this beer. There may be a Rosefield, Texas. I don't know, but that's not where they're based. All I know, maybe Rosefield is a person that works at the
could be a street name too.
But it always Rosefield has that. Immediately, I start thinking about Roswell and conspiracy theories and alien abductions and flying saucers and UFOs and the Jeffrey Epstein files, which are coming out any day. By the way, they're coming out any day, so we'll know. We're going to know everybody that P. Diddy ever saw naked before we get anything more in the Jeffrey Epstein files.
That's going to be an interesting Fox show, the Epstein files instead of the X files.
Yeah, but the Epstein files, except every third word from the character's mouth will be, "This is interesting. I can't believe," redacted. Look at who that is. It's redacted. So, that's the way it's going to go.
Who gets to
it's
play
Nicholas
P. Diddy?
redacted.
Yeah. Who gets to play P. Diddy in the P. Diddy story like 20 years from now? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Kenan Thompson did a really great job last weekend playing Kanye on Saturday Night Live, but I don't know who would play Diddy. Who maybe? Oh, I know. Michael B.
Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan.
Yep.
If you cut his beard and hair the right way, and he's a great actor, he could totally pull it off.
Do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Michael B. Jordan, say this word, baby oil. I think he could get that. I think he could get that P. Diddy menacing look in his eyes when he says, baby oil.
All right, run down this hallway with a towel wrapped around you.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to happen. There's going to be.
I don't care if you are having problems at the custom office. I need my cases of baby oil right now.
That's right. Exactly.
How much baby oil was it?
It was hundreds. It was hundreds of bottles.
Amount, right?
I believe that the phrase that the news finally settled on was buttload. It was a buttload of baby oil. So that's
sponsored by Johnson and Johnson.
that is apparently a lot. I'm going to tell you about this in our next segment, since we're going to be talking about tequila and pairing tequila with food. But there is a new tequila lawsuit that I find very interesting, because the lawsuit claims that both Casamigos tequila and Don Julio tequila are not truthful when they say 100% agave.
Oh,
so we'll get into the instances of that and what that's all about. I mean, it's no Diddy trial, but there's no baby oil. Trust me, they're not putting baby oil in the tequila. It's just apparently, Well, we'll get to it. That's coming up. Plus, we are going to be tasting some more beer, and in fact, I'm really excited about this one because it is from a brewery in Florissant, Missouri, called Narrow Gauge Brewing Company. We'll be tasting their King Fallen Flag IPA next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that sound. That sound is just like, I think that should be in a song. Are there any songs that have Pop a Top Again? Does that actually have a can popping?
That's a good question.
I know at the time that was recorded, because that's an old country song. Pop tops were different. They weren't this kind of
they had the tab,
little tab that you would pull off. You still got a little of that
sound effect.
Yeah,
because you get the pull part of it.
Yeah,
then you throw it on the beach,
right, and kill a turtle. Yeah. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are a program that's
for those of you who don't actually understand that line in Margaritaville,
blew
out my flip flop.
Yeah, stepped on a
pop top.
There you have it. Heel had to cruise on back home.
Thank you for catching that.
There was a thing that used to be a thing. It couldn't happen now.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The sharp part disappears into the can.
Yeah.
Depositing whatever dirt and grime that was on the top of the can into your beer. But that's a different story. Welcome back to our show. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I mentioned before we went to break that there is a new lawsuit out. 3 citizens have filed a class action lawsuit against Casamigos and Don Julio Tequilas and their parent company because they claim, their parent company, Diageo, claims that these tequilas are 100% agave, and the class action suit complains that they are not. They say consumers pay a premium price for spirits made from 100% Blue Weber agave, and we learned how important this is from our tequila expert Liliana Rodriguez when she's on. If it doesn't say 100% agave, get out. Like, don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of it. Don't bother. But they are claiming in this lawsuit that even though these are priced as premium spirits and advertised, Casamigos says tequila 100% agave azul, and Don Julio says 100% de agave. They say, nope, that is not the case, and that they have had people looking into this, and they are claiming in a New York federal court that they are violations of state and federal consumer laws. So watch this space. We'll keep you up to speed. To me, this is almost more interesting than the Diddy trial. You know? because I really want to know, like, if it's true. If they've been pulling this off against consumers, that's a huge fraudulent deal. If it's not true, then they're basically being, scandalized unnecessarily, and that's a horrible thing to do to people who make tequila.
And here's the thing, that if it's not true,
right,
they still are going to have the stain of being accused by it.
Right. So that's one of the things.
There's going to be a lot of people that's what they remember.
And they've got to go to court and defend themselves.
Isn't there somebody isn't there a checks and balances? I mean, since, it has to be tequila, it has to come from a certain part of Mexico. I mean, is there not already someone
there are certainly standards in place. I don't know how they are checked and enforced.
Okay.
Which would be, we may have to have Liliana back on to talk about this if this lawsuit creeps up. But I will say, we've had on this show both Casamigos tequila and Don Julio tequila, and I found them both to be delicious. So if you were to find out that they are, in fact, not 100% agave, how would that impact you? Like, would you take them off of your potential buy list when you're looking for a bottle of tequila?
Not because of the fact that they're not 100% agave, but because of the fact that they weren't transparent about it.
Right. So you do it as a kind of punitively rather than saying this tequila isn't good because
it's like in the whiskey world we get the language that happens where companies don't always want to let you know that they're not making their own whiskey.
Right, that it's blended from outside sources or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies, I don't know why it's even an issue, because a lot of companies, you can't start a whiskey company tomorrow and have an aged whiskey.
True.
It doesn't work that way.
Right. It's going to have to sit in barrels for a while.
Right. If you're making your own. Now, you can start a whiskey company tomorrow and have an aged whiskey if you buy it from some of the suppliers.
And honestly, this is what most new whiskey brands do. Yeah. Their first whiskeys will be blended maybe by their people. But something that's a whiskey that's been sourced from other places while they make their own and allow it to sit until it's,
and a lot of them will buy
3 years, 5 years,
buy that raw product from a place like GMP, who makes great whiskeys, by the way.
Right.
Make no doubt about that. But you can buy whatever level of it you want.
Right. You can buy really good stuff.
But a lot of places will buy, those whiskeys and then buy barrels and barrel age it themselves.
Right. And that's... Yeah.
But as long as you're transparent about where your whiskey's coming from, that's the big thing. Same thing happens, and the reason, like you were talking about the Casamigos thing, the same thing is I would feel.
That wasn't me.
I have no idea what that was. I would feel a bit betrayed if they weren't, telling the whole truth about that.
Agreed. Yeah, it would seem like a more a violation of trust than a violation of taste.
Right. And even if it tastes good, there's tons of vodkas here in Texas that don't disclose or haven't always disclosed that they're not from Texas,
right?
And I don't I don't buy those again anymore either.
When you find that out.
And it's not because they're bad, for mixing or anything like that. It's just because, I'd rather put my money somewhere where people are being honest about it.
Right. How do you claim you're from Texas but not be from Texas?
Well, maybe the company is from Texas or from whatever state. I mean, for those of you that don't live in Texas and may not understand why this is a big deal, Texans have this thing where they really believe, you know how people will be really proud when something's made in the USA?
Yeah.
Same thing goes for the state of Texas.
Yeah.
If you are from Texas, you have this sort of like, our state's the best state sort of vibe going on. And you have a tendency to want to support other Texas businesses. Yeah. So it's not so much that you will only drink a beverage that's from Texas as it is you don't want them to tell you that it's from Texas and have it not be. I guess.
And I have no problem buying a whiskey and or vodka and or whatever that's sourced from other places. If I read the bottle and it says, this whiskey was made in Indiana,
right, 100%,
and then bottled and aged and bottled in Texas. That's no problem.
Exactly. Let's just be transparent.
You just want to be transparent about it.
Be truthful. Our next beer was brewed in Florissant, Missouri. I've been to Florissant a number of times. So I lived in St. Louis for many years, and but this brewery was not there when I lived there. This is from a brewery called Narrow Gauge Brewing Company. It is their double IPA called King Fallen Flag. We'll talk more about it in the next segment, but that's hour 2. What's your initial thought about this IPA?
It's a little upfront, but it's pretty nice.
I really like it. You're definitely right about it being up front. I mean, it hits you with the hops right off the bat. But in that double dry hop way, it gives that kind of juicy finish that that kind of brings it all back together. I like it a lot. We'll talk more about it in the next segment. This is Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back with hour 2. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome to hour 2 of the show. And a reminder for you, by the way, if you are hearing our show on the radio, you can hear the full thing and even see the full thing on YouTube every week. We're available on all the major podcast platforms at YouTube. And I've been watching some of my favorite YouTubers, and they've been doing these things like help us get to 1 million subscribers, and then they get to 1 million subscribers, and it's like a big celebration. So I thought we would do a similar thing. Help us get to 100 subscribers, if you would. We would love that. That would be huge. So ring the bell and all of that.
Yeah. In our defense, we concentrate more on the podcast and the radio than we do on the
YouTube. Than YouTube. It's true, but it's there, and it's how I usually watch the show or listen to the show when I do.
Sometimes I put it on in the background in the evening just as a mood.
Yeah, right.
Light some candles. Me and wife hang out.
All the pours. Yeah. All the bottle pops.
That's right.
Watch them all as they happen.
Speaking of all the pours, I'm really enjoying this IPA, but I'm guessing because of what I know, I'm an IPA guy. I like all styles of IPAs. You got to really work to make an IPA that I wouldn't like. But Ian is a little different than that. And I'm guessing this is not quite as much to your taste as it would be to mine because I love it.
It's drinkable.
Yeah.
But that's not my favorite. There are things that I really like about this.
It's spillable as well, by the way.
You should have seen how much I spilled when I was pouring it.
Yeah.
So first off, it's coming. There are things that I like about it. 8.6.
So that's a big IPA.
That's pretty big.
Anytime you're above 7, it's
I love. They're in the middle of this, like right after your initial blast of hops, because it comes in. I mean, it comes in like Dizzy Gillespie going into a solo.
Yeah,
it's
it
like
makes a statement. Yeah,
the foot through the door. It's as brash as it's going to be, and then it has this beautiful maltiness that rolls across the tongue, and then finishes with just this crazy hop bitter that leaves me feeling a little bit pine coney in the mouth. So it's not my favorite, but also this is not a style that I absolutely adore.
Yeah, absolutely. And being an IPA person, this is certainly not my favorite IPA, but I love having it in the in the range and the ratio of what we can do from an IPA standpoint because I think it's wonderful.
Brewed and canned Narrow Gauge Brewing Company grains, pearl, 2-row oats, and some word I can't pronounce, and hops, Citra, Mosaic, and Columbus.
All right, I like it.
So
Citra, Mosaic, and Columbus.
and I bet
That's my password. Now I have to change it.
Quick, everybody, hack Terry before he has a chance to finish the show.
I bet straight from the tap this has a little bit different profile.
Oh,
too.
I bet it's a little juicier.
I bet it does. But you could tell it's a quality beer. It's just not to my my flavor palate there.
So we are talking a lot about tequila on today's show. And in fact, we're going to taste some tequila in just a moment. The Cave Agave Extra Anejo or Anejo Extra, depending on how you like to say it. I'm very excited about this, and I was waiting for that sound. All sound effects are organic here on Smoking and Toasting, just so you know. But I ran across an interesting article I wanted to share with you guys about pairing tequila and food. And it comes from Food and Wine, which is a great magazine and a very interesting website. And I generally like what I find on their website. And I liked all the pictures in this article of the food that really made me hungry. So let me share with you some of what they have said here about pairing tequila and food. The first they say is fried chicken. And I would never have thought of this, but they say try
an añejo
with Kentucky Fried Chicken. The hot, crispy skin with the combination of oil and spices, combined with sipping the añejo with one rock in it, which I suppose by that they mean one, one cube of ice. It's ambrosia and still one of my favorites. This is from the bar director of the Aviary and the Office in Chicago, famous Chicago bar. So this one is even cooler. Paul Sauter, a chef, says peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwiches and tequila. For something sweet, he says peanut butter, banana, and bacon finger sandwiches paired with an extra añejo, the sweetness of the banana and peanut butter with the meaty saltiness of the bacon works so well with the vanilla, caramel, and finish on the extra añejo.
I bet.
Thank you very much.
My mouth is watering.
That sounds pretty darn good. I like fried chicken too. So
Michael Boomhauer, great name. Anyone who's a fan of King of the Hill has to love that. He is the executive chef at the Danforth in Portland, Maine. He says apples and acid, citrus specifically, is a very common pairing with all categories of tequila because the way it revives the agave on your palate and balances out the proof. He says, I like to find unusual sources for that acid to pair it with, and the malic acid found in apples, acetic acid found in vinegar, and tartaric acid found in grapes or even potatoes is a nice combination.
That
with
sounds
tequila.
lovely. He sounds like he came at it a little
I've happened across. So first off, Gouda and a green apple.
Yeah.
Really nice together.
Really nice pairing. Yeah.
And if you can find the Gouda with the dill in it on top of that, it adds just a little something.
I like
this sounds
But
like
having that with something like this double dry hopped IPA, come on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
See, that sounds like a very good day, dinner party type thing like that, which is very different than I feel like the guy who at 3 a.m. said tequila and KFC.
Yeah. I got you. But I'm not throwing any dinner parties anytime soon where I'm pouring my extra añejo tequila for the guests. I'm like, sorry guys, we got some Patron Silver, maybe. The next chef is Matt Carter. He's the chef and owner of the Mission in Phoenix, and he says añejo tequila and smoked beef cheek. Now, this sounds perfect to me. It says añejo tequila starts to bring on the sweetness of the barrel, reminiscent of brandy or cognac, both of which go great with meats. We smoke beef cheeks over añejo barrel wood chips. I'm so going to this restaurant.
Pretty much barbacoa, right?
Yeah. I use añejo in the braise and then spritz charred onions with añejo, sherry vinegar, and tamarind.
Wow. I bet that's awesome.
Yeah,
I bet that's great.
Johnny Long is the head bartender at Death & Company in Denver, and he says, I love playing around with banana and tequila, especially when banana helps to add a dimension of sweetness and can help temper the bite of a hotter, unaged tequila. So that's interesting. If you're dealing with a Blanco, maybe try it with banana. Charcuterie is the suggestion from Aaron DeFeo, the co-owner of Little Rituals in Phoenix. It says tequila, which presents a as a higher acid spirit, was born for charcuteries and tapas. The funky vegetal nature of lowlands tequila and the sharp citrus notes of highlands tequila, along with the natural perceived salinity and mineralogy. That's a lot of words. This all pairs perfectly with cheese and olives. And basically, this is what you were getting at earlier when you were talking about, like the Gouda cheese and the cheese and even just cheese and crackers and tequila is a pretty good thing.
And let's not forget like a big purple onion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The flagship restaurant group in Omaha, Nebraska, Dustin Fox is the beverage director there. He says sushi. He says, I love tequila with sushi and raw fish. And
I have
apparently
never thought about that.
Dutch Yellowtail with a Highlands tequila. The tequila makes a beautiful pairing. And he also says, for a richer, oilier fish like salmon or tuna, I like to go with a lowlands tequila. The fresh, almost citrusy flavor of fish cuts through the spicy earthiness of the agaves grown in that rich volcanic soil. Aged Gouda and Manchego cheese. We talked about cheese pairing. Chocolate pairs beautifully with tequila. Ryan Williams, the bar
chocolate
lead.
goes really well with bourbon and whiskeys in general too.
Grilled octopus. Marine-inspired dishes come to mind. Octopus is a great combination with tequilas that are produced using earthen pits, which smokes the agaves before maceration. And finally, grilled steak. I really like the combo of grilled steak over wood or charcoal and tequila because the natural smokiness from the wood and charcoal is subtle enough to enhance and follow the flavors from an aged tequila. A lot of the tequila pairings in here, they're using Anejo or extra Anejo, and that's actually what we are sampling today. This is an extra Anejo tequila that I picked up on my travels, and it is called Cave Agave. Cave Agave. It is 100% de agave, says so right there. Let's hope they're being truthful. The bottle is numbered, and it comes from Casa Maestre Distillery, which, of course, is in Mexico. It's 80 proof. Have you had any chance to sniff or sample the wares?
I've been doing my research here, but I will tell you on the nose, like right off the bat on the nose, this is, of course, it's very agave forward, a little bit of pepper, but chocolate and
Chocolate's
vanilla.
what I get, yeah.
Chocolate is huge on this.
Yeah, the chocolate is strong with this one. This is for
There's
sure.
something about the vanilla in this one. It's got like a velvet cake or something taste to it. There's some sort of cake. I get like a cake kind of flavor in there.
Absolutely love this, and you're right about the cake.
Almost a cake batter on the retrohale.
Cake batter.
There's almost like a cake batter kind of retrohale to it.
Yes.
I just want to mention, you talked about vanilla and chocolate, and in my mind, one of the greatest things in life is vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup. Nothing else. I don't need nuts. I don't need sprinkles.
Basic Sunday.
Yeah. Vanilla ice cream, chocolate syrup, that is heaven. And so it's no wonder that I really like this tequila because it's got elements of all of that.
So you picked this up recently, I take it.
Like
I noticed that you cleared the top of the plastic off the top, and also cleared the neck so as to minimize spillage.
That's right. It's an OSHA requirement. Sometimes we fail to do that, and that's not a good thing for any of us. Let me tell you a little something about this tequila. Tequila aging there's Blanco, which is the minimum aging. There's Reposado, which is in the middle. And Reposado, I think, is only like 3 months or something. It has to be aged to be a Reposado. And then there's Anejo, which is the most aged. But now there's this category, sort of a super category called Extra Anejo, which requires even more aging.
Well, Anejo is still aging under a year. This is not like whiskey or scotch, which ages for many, many, many years.
The barrel imparts flavors to tequila very quickly because of the nature of the spirit. And what I find so interesting is usually extra añejo tequilas, I mean, they can be $100. They can be, in the case of something like my absolute favorite, which is the La Familia, Reserva de la Familia from Jose Cuervo, generally closer to 150. Guys, I picked this bottle up at a spec store in San Antonio for $38.
Okay, that is immediately going on my shelf.
Yes, Cave Agave, and it probably won't be $38 for long. I can just tell you.
That is immediately going on my shelf. That is outrageous.
And at that price, I mean, you would not have been at all surprised if I told you it was a $70 bottle.
No, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
So I will tell you. Also in fun news, speaking of picking up bottles, guess what just got released? The Wild Turkey 101 8-year.
Have you had it?
Oh yeah.
Are you going to bring it on the show soon?
Yeah, I will.
If there's any left.
Although next week we have Spirit on the show already, so
yes.
I'll have to wait a couple weeks.
All right. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. In the meantime, this Cave Agave
It's so good.
is so good. It is like a chocolate and vanilla bomb. A little bit of cinnamon, you get a little bit of the pepper, but chocolate and vanilla. Oh, I love me some chocolate and vanilla.
Super curious, dude. Do you have any water over there?
I have not really.
We'll get some during the break and we'll try it and see what it's like.
Super curious to just drip a little water in there and see what happens.
Let's do that, and we'll do it when we come back, which we will do momentarily. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. By the way, a big thanks to James Corona from Still Austin Distillery, who was our special guest on last week's show. You can go and check it out if you missed it on
always
YouTube.
A blast.
Oh, and their whiskeys are so good.
Yes, agreed.
Oh, they really are.
How do they do it?
Speaking of so good, this tequila, we were marveling about it during the break, and Ian decided to try a little experiment.
I did. I put just a few drops of water in it, and it instantly opens up. Now, it takes away a little of the chocolate. Keep in mind, there's still chocolate in there. It takes away a little of the chocolate, but it turns it into that cake batter / sugar cookie all day long.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to do that. It's incredibly interesting.
Okay, so I
don't know that I like it better, but I really like it both ways.
Interesting, because it takes a lot of the.
That's what she said.
It takes a lot of the immediate sort of agave out of the nose. You don't get as much of it.
There's a little bit more pepper coming in too with just a hair of water.
I agree, and I got that on the nose. Okay, so I will say, and maybe I did a little more water than I should have, but I think I like it much better undiluted.
I don't know that I like it much better. I like both ways. I think I'm going to be undecided on this.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I like it like this. You're right. It does bring out the cake batter, which is what I really like in it. But I mean, I barely put just a tap of water in it.
The finish is like all sugar cookie.
The finish is all, and it's like that either way, I think. Yeah. But it's a little more sugar cookie up front with a little bit of water, a little more chocolate up front without the water.
I'm kind of digging this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be
all the way through. All the way through. Cave Agave, that is really good. Tell you about some cigars to watch for while we're enjoying this tequila, and while you're writing down Cave Agave, so you can go pick some of this up. The Alma de Cuello from, the Alma de Cielo. The Alma de Cielo, which is Spanish for Alma de Cielo, from Plasencia Cigars, is descending from the sky to retailers across the country as we speak. It's a new release from Plasencia. It was unveiled with some velvet rope fanfare at last month's PCA trade show in New Orleans after an eloquent introduction by Nestor Plasencia and a live performance by October London, the R&B artist. The cigars were ceremoniously lowered from the ceiling as though descending from the sky. And apparently that's what Alma de Cielo means, is descending from the sky or the ceiling or
nice.
Or whatever.
I mean, Plasencia, come on. It's
the fourth release in Plasencia Cigars Alma series and is defined by a high-altitude tobacco. So that's when it's really talking about descending from the sky. That's grown in the mountains of Nicaragua's Condega region. That's pretty unusual because most of the tobacco in Nicaragua is grown in the foothill valleys at the base of the mountains or the lower elevation hills. So this translates actually to soul of the sky in Spanish. And that's why, because
there's four
tobacco's from so high up.
Fuerte,
that's fire. Fuerte is fire.
Right. Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember what the other ones were, because they have the red label, they have the green label.
We'll have to go back and look at the catalog for these guys too.
The white label.
All of the tobacco in this blend is from Nicaragua, and it's all grown by the Plasencias, including the wrapper leaf from Jalapa.
I'll try anything Plasencia though, because they're so good.
These cigars are they come in boxes of 10, 4 by 7/8 inches long by 52 ring gauge is $25. That's the Celeste. The Boreal, which is 6 1/8 by 54, is $27.50, and the Amancer, which is a 6 by 60 with the hexagonally pressed shape from Plasencia, $29.50. And these are all made of Plasencia cigars, like the rest of the Ama series.
Look, I realize that the hexagonal press shape, is purely aesthetic.
Yes, but you love it, don't you?
Awesome.
It's so cool. You remember the ones that came out that were triangle shaped a while back? I'm trying to remember what I know.
Ooh, who did that?
I'm trying to remember because I smoked them and talked about them here on the show, but I haven't seen them in a long time. And they come in like a triangle shaped package where they fit these box pressed triangle shaped cigars together.
Was it a punch?
I don't think so. So. I will tell you that one of our favorite annual cigar traditions here at Smoking and Toasting is returning for 2025. Quesada Cigars seasonally themed Oktoberfest. We're on display at this year's PCA trade show in New Orleans, and they are scheduled to ship in August. Quesada,
since they re-released those, I've had the 23, 24, and there's a 10th anniversary, and they're all really good. Really
they
good.
make these at the Quesada factory in the Dominican Republic, and they've been blended to pair with German beer ever since the brand debuted in 2011. The initial release of Oktoberfest was all Dominican, although some limited editions were made with Nicaraguan tobacco as well. But the core blend changed in 2021, and now the cigar consists of a Mexican San Andres wrapper with Dominican binders and fillers. So the San Andres is going to add a little heft to that, and I absolutely love it. I will say though that was it 2016? I thought 2016 was the banner year.
The bomb.
Yeah, that was the banner.
That was the old blue label. This was the last year they did the blue label.
Yep.
And it was just particularly fantastic.
The 2025 edition of Oktoberfest will be available in 5 sizes: Bavarian, which is 5.5 by 52; the Kaiser Ludwig, which is 6 by 49; Das Boot, which is a torpedo at 6 by 52; the Hefty Uber, which is 6 by 65; and the Salomon Box Press, which has a length of 6 3/4 inches in a double tapered body that swells to a 50 ring gauge at its widest point. Only 500 boxes of each size are being produced, so I will be planning on a purchase here because I like investing in these. When I say invest, I mean buying stuff so I can smoke it. 1 cigar a week. We'll be right back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for listening and joining us. And Drinking News is right around the corner. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And you'd be interested to know that during the break, I just turned to my on-air partner, Ian, here, and I said, can you believe we're at work? This is our job. It's what we do.
Do you have a job, Mr. Lebowski?
I think we talked about this last week, but Jeff Bridges says he'll do another one. If they want to do a sequel to The Big Lebowski. Ordinarily, I'm not all that excited about sequels, but in this case, I'm absolutely thrilled.
Did you know Jeff Bridges has a signature model guitar?
Yes, I did. Jeff Bridges is one of my favorite human beings. I love that man.
Oh, I love him.
I love that man. He's just and what's so great about him is that I think he has a lot actually in common with the dude. You know, I think a lot of that was Jeff Bridges coming out in that character.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges wasn't acting so much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
obviously you're not a bull.
It's like if the guy from Tron, if Flynn from Tron grew up. That's
right.
it.
Exactly. It's like,
there's so many,
that's just like
there are so many lines in that.
Your opinion, man. You know what I'm saying? All right. It's speaking of things that are just my opinion, it is time for a little segment we enjoy here on the program. And once Ian opens that bottle, because you'll want to be pouring that
I'm
later.
pre-opening that because I'm going to play the song here, and then I will pour.
Ian plays a number of roles here on the show. One is bottle opener and pourer of beverages.
I like to think of my bottle opening as sound effect creation lab.
We can go with that. You can be the sound effect technician for the show, and you're also our house band.
I have to go into my secret laboratory from time to time and learn how to create these sounds.
Our secret laboratory is also where we come up with some of the programming for the program and programming for the program. I like that. That sounds like something a president made up, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's programming for the program.
Yeah.
It's bigly.
Word salad.
Yeah, that's right. In any case, it's a little thing we like to call drinking news. Stories that are sometimes, but not always about drinking, but are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And since we have, it's time for drinking news.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
There's,
We say
that
cheers, you
moment.
put your pinky out.
When in doubt, put your pinky out. That's a SpongeBob thing, right? The moment you say, I had to take my gator to the vet, there's a certain amount of pause that you have to leave in there. And I feel like I'm starting to really get the knack for that.
For the pause,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's
You don't want
comedic pause.
to jump in too quickly because it loses all comedic timing value.
And if you wait too long, again, you're falling flat.
Yeah, it's a thing of inches and milliseconds.
That's right.
Well, welcome to Drinking News, and welcome to the return of one of our recurring features here on this segment. It's a little thing we like to call the Florida Report. All right, that wasn't great, but
That wasn't
we tried.
great. I know.
We tried.
Can we do that
That's
one more
great.
time?
We tried.
Okay.
It's a little thing we like to call the Florida Report.
Florida man
That's a little
or
better.
woman or LGBTQ plus if you're into that.
Yes, it is the Florida Report. Incidents and accidents from the Sunshine State, maybe even hints and allegations that shed light on, well, to be honest, I'm not really sure what they shed light on, so let's just forge ahead, shall we? Dateline Miami, where rescue crews have transported a victim to a local hospital after an incident at a Walmart. Because, of course, they have. Because Florida. And
I mean, when you combine
because
Florida with Walmart, you
yes.
have almost like a super entity there.
Did the Florida man slip on something that was both sticky and slippery on the floor in front of the slushy machine? Did security try to tackle him because he was smuggling a garden gnome dressed in biker clothes out the door in his pants? Was it an altercation with another customer over the last chia pet planter in the shape of Sophia from the Golden Girls? They do sell all of those things at Walmart.
You remember when
But none of them
Saturday
were
Night
gay.
Live had a skit where they had the Pope the Pope thing where the chia grows on there? They called it the Chia Pope.
The Chia Pope. Oh,
I
my
remember
God.
chia hair.
That's good. That's good. Well, although they do sell all those things at Walmart, none of them were involved in this particular case. No, it was simply the fact that the Florida man's loaded gun that he brought into the store slipped out of his pants, dropped to the floor where, you guessed it, the gun went off and shot the Florida man in the leg.
Dumbass, it's called a holster.
I think that's what you should say. That's what you get for wearing gym shorts with your gun.
Fortunately, no one but this particular idiot was hurt. But the world's largest retailer, they might want to.
He shot himself in the leg.
Yeah.
In Walmart.
Yeah, he's got his gun in his pants.
I'm serious. I
It falls out, boom,
really
shot in
picture
the
this
leg.
guy in just those gym shorts, like,
Yeah.
with a tie.
You see
and
plenty
his
of those.
gun, and he was just
Yeah.
like, this is going to work. I just got to run into the store for a minute.
I may or maybe not be wearing shorts like that right now, but I do not have a gun stuck into the waistband. So, fortunately, nobody but this one particular idiot was hurt. But I should say that the world's largest retailer might want to rethink their policy of hiring 95-year-old papas with astigmatism to work as the official greeter when you enter the store. And maybe they'd catch Pistol Packin' Pete before he heads to the lawn and garden department. I'm just saying. Dateline Port Charlotte, where we have learned even more about Leo the 14th, our brand new Pope.
Oh.
Now, we already knew.
Port Charlotte, man.
We already knew that he was an American, and we already know that he's from Chicago. We already know that he's a fan of the White Sox, and as we shared with you on this program last week, that he's also a fan of Malort. We have not been able to confirm any truth to the rumor that he plans to Malort.
Questionable taste in liquor.
We have not been able to confirm any truth to the rumor that he plans to malort his fellow cardinals at the Vatican by swapping that particular beverage for the communion wine, but we will keep you posted.
Wouldn't it, you should start a bit and say, if anybody can get us a picture of the Pope drinking Malort at any age in his life, we will give you $100 or something,
We'll give you
a six-pack of beer, whatever.
Six-pack of beer, for sure. Although you gotta figure, if he were to do that, if he were to malort the other cardinals at the Vatican by changing the communion wine for Malort, that would probably be the best Pope practical joke of all time.
That would be pretty amazing.
Just saying. But what we have learned about the new Pope this week is even more illuminating. Pope Leo is not an only child. Pope Leo has a brother. And the Holy Father's brother is, wait for it, a Florida man.
Florida man related to the Pope.
Yes, the Pope's brother, Louis Prevost, lives in Port Charlotte, where he recently told reporters, in perfect Florida man style, by the way, that his brother's election came as a shock. And he said, quote, "Geez, it was just like yesterday I was throwing him down the stairs, and now he's the Pope." End quote.
I love that so much.
Finally, Dateline Port St. Lucie.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Where a 39-year-old Florida woman named Allison Swan has been charged with battery, causing bodily harm, after what police are calling the nacho cheese incident.
You said charged with battery.
Yeah, charged with battery. And charged with battery causing bodily harm.
Supposed to charge with a battery, right?
That's right. Police were called to the woman's home, where she lived with her female spouse, after an altercation that apparently began when Swan started to criticize her wife for eating nachos late at night and made derogatory comments about her weight. Now,
as go straight to your hips.
Please tell me she said they were mine nachos.
As the argument escalated, Swan apparently shoved her partner against a wall, dragged her by the hair, pinned her face down to the floor, and threw water on her.
I saw that episode of Beavis and Butthead about the nachos.
Not before she took a handful of drippy, cheesy nacho goodness from the plate and shoved them down the back of her wife's pants.
Oh, come on.
Swan denied the incident, saying that her partner was just drunk and that she'd thrown the nachos herself and then rolled around in the cheese. But police confirmed the details by noting contradictions in Swan's story, including, but not limited to, the discovery of cheese inside the victim's pants.
I want there to be like a hand cheese print.
Yeah. Swan was arrested and was able...
Hey, look, there's some cheese in there.
Swan was arrested and was able to post bond 4 days later. Her partner is recovering, although she may be having a difficult time washing all that nacho cheese out of her pants.
Have you ever noticed Taco Bell?
Have you ever noticed, like, if you make like a plate of nachos and you're later like washing the dishes, that cheese gets stuck to the sponge and you cannot get it out of the sponge.
Yeah.
Same thing for your pants. Amazingly, for the second week in a row, our drinking news stories have given me a spark of inspiration. And as you probably know by now, when I am inspired, I just can't help myself. The poetry flows from me like a river, And I just have to put pen to paper, or fingers to keyboard in this case, and write a verse or two of prose. Now that, in and of itself, would not necessarily be troubling to most of you, but as you also know, I feel compelled to share my poetic musing with you. And so now, in a time-honored and highly questionable tradition, I'd like to do so. I appreciate the poetry reading music. And it goes a little something like this. Florida woman said, "Here's how it is. It's my partner. She went into a tiz. But she lied, there's no doubt. And the cops found her out 'cause her wife's pants were full of Cheese Whiz." Reporting live from the Sunshine State, where the most amazing thing about these three Florida reports is that none of them involved a gator. My name's Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Oh my God, I just went back to this.
So things I learned
tequila.
while we were talking about drinking news.
Yeah?
The previous beer and the tequila do not go well together.
Well, that is true. I would say for an IPA to go well with a spirit, it almost has to be like a rye whiskey. Mm-hmm. You know, IPAs are not the best at pairing with spirits or cigars, but some of them are, but it just depends on the one, right?
An amendment to what I said earlier as well, as I poured myself a new glass of the tequila.
The Agave tequila.
No water. I mean, holy cow.
Oh, yeah. It's so good without the water. I agree. I re-poured before drinking news because I can't have an empty glass during drinking news. It's
illegal.
Well, the union would get very upset with the whole.
That guy Chuck with the union.
Yeah.
Rusty Nail is, it's very barley wine-like.
Really? Well, this should set well with you since it's potential floating down the river.
Imperial oatmeal stout with licorice and cinnamon bark added, aged in bourbon barrels.
Right. Now, I'm not a licorice fan. I haven't tried this yet. I'm not a licorice fan.
So I don't get the licorice a lot. What I get is a ton of dates.
Oh, dates and nuts.
Dates.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the scene in the first Indiana Jones movie. Yeah. Where he's throwing the date into the air and he's about to reach it and they look over and the dates have been poisoned and the monkey died because he ate one of the dates.
Oh, yeah.
And his friend there grabs it in the air before it falls into his air and he says, "Bad dates."
Bad dates.
I've been on those.
If you overview the plot of that movie, if Indiana Jones never showed up, the movie would have ended the same way.
I'm going to have to think about that. Because that's a little too heavy for my...
just blow everybody's mind?
Literally, think about how it ended.
This is like my stoner friends who sit around and go, "Dude, if Indiana Jones wasn't in that movie,
and then
it would have ended the same way." And your other stoner friend goes, "Whoa."
And then one of my favorite scenes is when the bad guy dude steps into the tent and he pulls the thing out of his pocket and he starts to unfold it. And everyone, it looks like it's going to be something sinister, and it's a hanger.
It's a hanger.
It's a hanger, yes.
So he can hang.
I love that.
Yeah.
But you're right. The bad guys did open up the
right.
The
I mean, they would have done that whether Indiana Jones showed up or not.
Yeah,
movie would have ended,
and then everybody would have died around them.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, I figured
that one
would have opened that. Wouldn't that have affected the world or something? But it didn't. Just that little area.
You had to not look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was just about looking at it.
So my favorite Indiana Jones movie, though, has to be Indiana Jones and the weird facial expression where Nicolas Cage plays Indiana Jones. Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh, yeah. You have to look that up on the internet.
Okay.
I'm totally lying right now. I made that
story
there's no...
was from a friend of mine going to that last Indiana Jones movie. And he says he's in there watching the movie and Indiana Jones does something ridiculous, And apparently someone at the back of the theater just had enough and goes, "God damn it," and walks out.
This Rusty Nail, we're going to have to come back and talk about this next segment.
Outrageously
because it's outrageously good. This is from 2021 from Fremont Brewing in California, and it's amazing. We'll get to the nuts and bolts of this coming up. It's Smoking and Toast. So it's interesting. There's still a lot of tequila in Ian's glass, but as I opened the top to pour myself more, I noticed his glass come sliding in my direction.
I knew it was going to need refilled at some point in time in the near future.
You're just
so that was preemptive.
Heading it off at the pass. I get it, folks. This tequila. This is Cava Agave. This is why.
This is a jewel, is what this is.
This is why I got into tequila being my actual favorite of all the spirits. It's situations and examples like this. This would go so well with a cigar. Oh my goodness! I can't wait to have this with a cigar. Fantastic. And talk about things it could go with. Have you been back and forth with this Fremont Rusty Nail, which we poured?
To.
All right. So while he's doing that, let me tell you a little bit about this beer. Fremont, first of all, is a California brewery that is, I don't know if I've ever tasted anything of theirs that wasn't just outrageously incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they make everything top notch, everything 100% top notch.
And their whole reputation is like that. I keep saying they're from California. I apologize. They're not. They're from Seattle.
From Seattle. And then we've
Washington.
had Rusty Nail before. They have a new version of it every year, right?
Right.
And 2021.
So the name is a little off-putting to me, I'll be honest with you. Like Rusty Nail doesn't sound like something that would be delicious, but it is.
I like that it's an old school, blacksmith made nail.
Totally,
though.
and there is a skull and crossbones here, which helps. But this is a limited release every year.
I have a Rusty Nail exactly like this, by the way, sitting on
like the one that's pictured there.
Yeah, sitting in a little curio ashtray that I have, and it's from a building that. I was out in Austin with a friend, and we were mountain biking way back in the middle of nowhere, and we ran across this what was the foundation for an old building, and we found these rusty nails there that are exactly like that.
Exactly like that. Interesting. So I always think of Rusty Chains, which that's Soundgarden song.
Soundgarden
right?
song,
yeah, which is an awesome
Cage.
song.
Rusty
Cage.
Rusty
Cage.
Cage.
Sorry, not Chains, but Cage. Yeah, that's a great song. And I don't know. This beer is just fantastic.
So,
it is snickerdoodle, it is cinnamon, it is boozy, it is everything you would want a really
oatmeal.
big beer like this to be.
And it says licorice, but I don't get a lot of licorice with this at all.
I don't either, and that works for me because I'm not a huge licorice fan.
Coffee, I get coffee.
Yeah, coffee, and you get almost a bourbon sweetness.
Oh
to
yeah,
it.
yeah. There's a bourbon sweetness, and then dates,
yeah, big time.
Like big time dates.
So I'm now going back to the tequila, which we've already established is fabulous.
We are a family-owned craft brewery founded in 2009 to brew artisan beers made with the best local ingredients we can find. The Rusty Nail begins life as the first nail, an oatmeal stout of epic proportions, and brewers licorice, smoked barley, pale malt, and then is aged in cinnamon bark. She becomes she becomes the Rusty Nail after spending 15 months in 8 to 12-year-old bourbon barrels. The Rusty Nail,
Okay, so that's where the bourbon sweetness is coming from.
pounds your palate, challenges your perception of all that you know of beer, and leaves you wanting another sip.
So when you go from the Rusty Nail to the tequila, it's interesting. I don't know if I like what it does to the tequila as much as I like the tequila without it.
So what it does to tequila is pretty similar to when you put a little water in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not that dissimilar, and so it leaves it very, very much like you lose some of the chocolate, but you gain some of that snickerdoodle or
we like sugar
birthday
cookie,
cake.
birthday cake. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Batter.
What's interesting though is subsequent sips of the tequila kind of bring back that big chocolate vanilla thing that was happening.
Yeah, see, well,
as
I
you get a
noticed-
little further from the beer.
I noticed when you go over there, the initial sip that I took was a little more peppery of the tequila. I didn't taste the cake batter as much, and then at the very end, I got the big whiff of cake batter.
And
again.
I'm almost going to say the same thing when you go back the other way. I think I like these two separate more than I like them together.
I don't think they necessarily complement each other. They're both quite good on their own. And sometimes, we've had times where, especially the big drinks at the end of the show, we find that they really can really work well together. However, I don't think this is one of those. I think these two are separate entities, although back to back they're not bad together, but they don't really enhance each other.
I love it. They're both so good separately that you don't necessarily have to pair them. We like trying that because sometimes you stumble across something that's
sometimes
just
you run
amazing.
across something, you're like, what is going on here? And they form like Voltron.
This beer and this tequila, both separate from each other, are absolutely
the beer on its own, though, is so good. It's that raisiny date thing, the coffee in the background. There's an earthy, kind of gritty mocha, almost like the mocha powder stuck in your gums a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's fabulous. I'm going to stay with this, and then I'm going to go back to tequila, and stay with the tequila.
Yeah, we're going to.
That's the way.
Do it like that.
That's the way to do it. But that was great fun. Ian, what do we got coming up on the program that we should talk about in subsequent weeks?
I'm glad you asked me because next week is going to be Danielle Gray with Angel's Envy.
She's awesome, first of all.
She's absolutely, she's so enthusiastic.
Rocks.
And she's so fun. So Danielle Gray with Angel's Envy. And then, we got some fun stuff. The next one after that is the Front Porch.
Oh, we're going back to the Jim Heim famous Front Porch.
It's going to be a little hot.
Yep.
We're going to sweat.
It was hot and we sweated the last time.
So please forgive me if I'm in a tank top.
This is when you're going to want to watch the YouTube version.
A tank top and stretchy shorts.
Tank top will not describe it. Wife beater will describe it. That's what it's going to be like. But no, that's going to be good. Jim Heim is our friend and whiskey and cigar buddy, and his daughter, Abby Heim, is with one of what I think may be one of the best craft breweries.
Oh, yeah,
in Houston.
absolutely. Great Heights Brewing.
Yeah, Great Heights Brewing.
So good. And I love to have them together because their dynamic is so fun.
Oh, yeah, because it's their father-daughter. So you get that sort of natural built-in thing, but yet Abby knows so much about beer. She can talk beer until you're like, okay, you lost me. That's how good she is. Wow, what a fun show this was. Thank you to everybody who was responsible for helping to put this together. And thank you to this tequila, to Agave.
Tequila.
Have we raved about anything this much in a while?
Hey, I want to go ahead and put that to a price to quality scale.
Yeah, go for it.
That's going to be hitting a number 6 or 7 right there pretty easily.
Without question. All right. I will be thrilled to see you guys back here next week as we welcome Danielle and talk a little bit about Angel's Envy, which will be super fun, almost as fun as drinking it. We'll see you then. Have a great week, my friends. And until we meet again right here on this radio station or this stream. Cheers, y'all.